Welcome to another episode of Convincing Numbers. The deadline to cast votes for the Pro Football Hall of Fame draws ever closer. Using 4 numbers, I'm going to shed some light on the ridiculous behavior of voters to explain why Steve Atwater is going to be waiting to get into the Hall of Fame, even though he deserves entry. First, the number 5. The 2019 finalist class includes 5 defensive backs. 2 of them, Ed Reed and Champ Bailey, are first ballot Hall of Famers. The odds of the voters electing 3 defensive backs to the Hall are slim. In fact, there's even talk that Bailey might not get in because they only want 1 DB to go, and that will be Reed. This line of thinking is nonsense. Instead of a 3rd DB, it's likely they will slide Alan Faneca into the Hall to give representation for the offensive line. And he's a Pittsburgh Steeler. The voters fawn all over players from that franchise. Next, the number 3. There's absolutely no way the voters will allow 3 Denver Broncos to enter the Hall in one class. If Bailey gets the nod, and Pat Bowlen, who should have been in long ago, also gets in, hell would have to freeze over for the voters to put in Atwater. Next, the number 43, Troy Polamalu. His first ballot candidacy comes up in 2020. When Atwater misses in 2019, he becomes a 2020 candidate. Polamalu entering the fray adds more difficulty. Number 1, because he's a Steeler. That leaves Lynch, Law, and Atwater as the other defensive backs. Lynch will be a 7-time finalist at this point, and that tends to hold sway. Credentials don't matter, because the voters give precedence to players who have been finalists many times. So if they allow another defensive back, it is likely Lynch. That pushes Atwater to 2021, which brings in Charles Woodson, and the cycle keeps going on and on. And last, the number .01. This is the ratio of Hall of Fame Broncos to wins by the franchise since 1970. Or in other words, 5 Hall of Famers for their 460 wins, or 1 Hall of Famer for almost 100 wins. The voters have been giving the Denver Broncos the proverbial shaft for quite some time. They just don't like putting Broncos in camp. To put this ratio into perspective, the Raiders' ratio is .04, or 16 Hall of Famers for their paltry 414 wins, or 1 for every 25 wins. The ratio looks small, but the gap between is not. The voters are going to make Atwater wait for no good reason other than he played for the Broncos and they make absurd decisions frequently. For Mile High Huddle and 24/7 Sports, I'm Thomas Hall.